Today what we're going to do is we're going to go over moving jobs to history once they're completed, and we're going to go over the housekeeping feature to remove audio from your job so that they don't take up space on your computer. We are also going to briefly go over some dragon things that I really want you to remember as you move forward in your career. And we're also going to talk about print sets briefly. Okay, so we're going to begin with print sets. And print sets are simply an option for you to utilize when you don't want to use a word processor. The word processor that we all use is Microsoft Word, and all of you seem very happy with Microsoft Word. So it's unlikely that you will utilize print sets, but print sets are there for you all the same. If you go to Edit, you will see the Edit Print Sets option, and that's where I'm going to go right now. And you can see that I've created a few print sets for Trinidad. One is called TNT Juvenile Court Project. And if I click on that one and open it, the first thing that I'll see is the primary general tab. And at the very top of that tab, you can see that my print set is called TNT Juvenile Court Project. And then right beneath that, it references and utilizes a style called TNT Juvenile Court Hearing. Below that, you'll see that I've actually put in some margins, 1.30 for top and bottom, just 1 inch for left and right, and then of course the size of the page that I'm using, which is a regular sized page whose height is 11 inches and width is 8.5. The page numbers tab is next. And what I'm going to do is click on the one that I've already created, which I called bottom right corner. And if I click on edit, I can go into it. And I generally name it where the page number is. And so the page number for this print set is located in the bottom right corner. The page number starts on the first page. Well, the first page is number 2, rather, and then it counts the pages all the way to the end of the document. The appearance of the numbers is regular numbers, and then top and left refer to how many inches from the top is the page number going to be located. And in this instance, it's located 10.5 inches from the top of the page and 8 inches from the left of the page. And I have nothing in format. My start number is 1. Now, what I might want it to actually be is 2, since the first page is page 2. And so my number should probably be number 2. And I've chosen the font to be Arial in size 12. And to save my changes, I simply click on OK. If I were to have multiple line numbering, multiple page numbering in different sections of my transcript, like let's say my page number did not exist on the first page, existed on the second page in the upper right-hand corner, and then started on page 4 in the lower right-hand corner, then I would have to have 2 different settings for page numbers. One that was for the upper right and one that was for the bottom corner, right corner, which would tell those, it would tell the print set, the print set would tell Transcriptionist where the page numbering would begin and where it would end. As an example, some people in the US number their indexes with Roman numerals as opposed to regular numbers. And the Roman numerals are only for the index portion, and they begin again with regular numbers once the proceeding starts. And so in that case, I would actually have two entries here, one for the Roman numerals in the index and one for the regular numbers in the transcript. But since you guys don't do that, you just use regular line numbering, we only have to have one. I mean regular page numbering, excuse me. And then we'll go to the line numbering tab, and I'm going to click on the one that I have there and click on edit. And again, I make a note, I name it as to where it is. So here I have line numbering starting on page 2, which would really, that's what some people do. Some people won't start it until, say, page 4, which might be the proceedings page, or page 3, which might be the proceedings page. And so whichever is accurate is where you would put it. And then you would say that you would want to use it till the end of document, or you would want to use it, say, say that you have a certificate page and you only want line numbers to go up until the certificate page and not on the certificate page. And so you'd have one certificate page. So I'm going to say count last page from end of document. So one page from the end of the document is where I would want it to stop. And I would want it to be at 0.08, which is just outside the border on the left-hand side. We're not using fake line numbers. Fake line numbers or something that we do for people that use line numbering on their cover pages as well, because generally when you use line numbering on your cover pages, you have to have fake line numbering for the single spaced items on your cover page. But since we're not doing that, we're not using that feature, and we're not using a timestamp offset in this situation, so I would just click on OK. The borders, we're not using any borders here, but if we were, we would add and then we'd edit. And let's say that we were using a federal box. I would write federal box up here. And let's say that I want it on my entire document. Then I'd say I want it to start on the first page and I want to use it to the end of the document. And then let's say that it would say, okay, well, what do you want? Well, I want a single line on the top. I want a single line on the left, a single line on the bottom, and a single line on the right to make up my box. And then it's asking, okay, so how far from the top do you want this single line? And since my border from the top is 1.3, I'm probably going to go ahead and set this as 1.2. And then at the bottom, I'm going to set it, oh, actually, it's only asking from the left. So from the left, since I start at 1.3, no, I start at 1 on the left. So, and line numbers are going to be at 0.8. So I'm going to put this as 0.9 is where I want it to start on the left. And then it's asking me what's the width and the height of the box. And I want the width of the box to be, if I have an 8.5 inch page and I'm doing an inch off the left, that's 7.5 inches, and an inch off the right, that's 6.5 inches. So that's the maximum length I want. So I'm going to do 6.5 in width, and in height, I've got 11.5 inches to work with. And I am taking out 1.3 from the top and 1.3 from the bottom. So I need to take that into account. So I probably want my box to be 11, 10, 9, about 8 point, let's see, 8.8. And I'll say okay. And so that's what I want my border to look like. And generally I'm going to play with it. I'm going to go in and out and see if it works and see if it lines up and looks right. Text blocks are only things that generally would go in the header or the footer. So you can think of these as header and footer documents. If you don't use anything in your header or footer, you would not create a text block. But if you wanted something in the footer, you could add and then edit. And let's say that I want this to be the footer. And I want this to start on page 2 and go to the end of the document. And I'm going to want it to be 11 inches from the top and say 3 inches from the left. I want it to start. I want the width to be 4 inches and the height to be 0.5. And in my text, I just wanted to say, so that's all I wanted to say for now. I don't want to border around it. So I'm just going to say I want it bolded and I want it to be Arial instead of Courier New. So I'm going to click on that drop down and find Arial. And maybe I even want it to be Arial black so that it's nice and thick. And I can say okay. And images is only for if you want a logo, such as is used on the top of the first page in the juvenile court transcript. And here I want it to start on the first page and I want it to end on the first page. So I'm going to have 1 and 1 here. And I'm saying that I want it to be 0.8 from the top of the document. And I want to allow only 3.2 inches for it. And here I browsed to the logo that I got from the Juvenile Court Project. And I just say, okay. And then okay. And that's how I create my print set. Now, to utilize a print set in a style, I have to actually go to a style. So I'm going to exit the print sets and I'm going to go to edit styles, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to my Trinidad styles. And here I've got juvenile court hearing for print sets. I'm going to open that, and to make sure that I've assigned it the print set, I'm going to go to the layout and includes tab and make sure that that print set is selected. If that print set were not wanted, I would click on clear print set. To select it, I simply click on the drop down and go and select it. Now, one of the things that I'm just recalling is that in my print set, I had selected the regular TNT for juvenile courts. So I'm going to go back to this and open and make sure that here in the style, I'm using the one for print sets. And I'm going to click on OK, and that's done. And I don't know if, let's see, if I can go to present on one that I created for a print set to show you what it looks like. So this is how it would look in print sets. I believe that this is double spaced where the print set is set to be single spaced, which is why we don't have as many lines on the page. But basically, it just gives you an idea of what a print set does, as opposed to what Microsoft Word does and allows you to do. I don't really expect that you'll be using print sets, but I wanted you to know how to use it should you ever really need it. So that is print sets. Now let's talk about housekeeping. If you click on File, you will see Delete Job, Delete Voice Data, Delete Extra Files, and Delete Orphaned Files. If we click on Delete Extra Files, then it's going to bring up this dialog box. And this dialog box lets you choose whether or not you want to see jobs just from the current list or from some other list. You don't have a courtroom list, but you have a history list. So you can also see what is in history list. When we are done with a job, we move it to the history list. And when I say done, I mean we have done the job, we have created the final transcript, created an ASCII, created a PDF if we had to, and turned it in. So the job is done. Once we move it to the history list, we're keeping it for our own purposes, just to know what we've done in the past. There's no need to keep the audio, because audio is huge and it will take up a lot of space on your computer. So I don't want you keeping audio once your job is done. And the way to quickly get rid of all of that is simply to check all of these boxes under File Deletion on the right. This is not going to delete your final file, your text file that was organized and pretty. It's not going to delete that. It is only going to delete everything else that you no longer need. And so I would do Select All and Delete. This cleanup has completed. Okay. Close. That does not mean that your text files still aren't in your history list. They certainly are. However, the audio that you acquired is no longer there and it's no longer needed. So that has now given you back the space on your computer that these jobs were taking up. So that's a really important thing to be able to do. I'm going to make sure that I send you all the what we call housekeeping FAQ so that you all have it. I'm making a note for myself right now to do that after class. So that's a really important thing to be able to do. And just in case you don't recall how to move a job to history, all you do is highlight it and you click on this icon here, Move to History. It will ask you, do you want to move the following jobs to history? Yes. And off it goes. You can even click on multiple ones if you like and move them to history. And this is something that you will likely want to do once the class is completed. That way, when you start work, you will have a cleaned up current case list. These don't have anything in it, so I'm going to click on File and Delete Job. You can also do that. Yes, deletes the job. I'm going to do it again. File, Delete Job. And if you don't see that box coming up, it wasn't selected first. So File and Delete Job. Yes. And now your current case list is clean and ready to go. Ready to go for work. So that's really good. I don't think I ever spoke to you all about working in Scratchpad, but I'm going to go ahead and go into Scratchpad to show you a few things. Scratchpad is a place that you can access Dragon without going to Dragon directly. So you're still inside of Transcriptionist. It's still going to ask you to open your speech engine, select your user and all that. And you'll still have access to all your Dragon tools, but you don't have to create a job to do this. And that's why using Scratchpad can be very beneficial. I still have to wait for my engine to open, however. So I'm just going to wait for that. The things that we're going to discuss here, we're going to discuss doing check microphone, or what we call audio setup wizard. We're going to discuss going into the vocabulary and making sure you don't have words that were accidentally added by doing correction and typing in a word incorrectly. We all do it. We're going to talk about learn from specific documents, and we're going to talk about importing word lists. These are all really important things for you to know. I mentioned to you earlier in the class that I wanted you to print out those FAQs in ACE that are listed as resources. I want you to know that we do have a that's a good question. Any way to file your cases by court or courtroom? Certainly that is up to you, and that all would be about the way you name the file. So if you give the job a name like, let's say it's juvenile court, well then, you know, you'll be able to see that it's a juvenile court document. As for filing your cases, Transcriptionist really has nothing at all to do with filing your jobs. It has to do with keeping your jobs. But am I maybe not addressing it correctly? When you say filing, Diane, could you give me a better idea of what you mean by that?
Hi, Adria.
Hi.
Yes, and I remember I could talk. Right now, we use different folders. So we'll say we have 8-court case, the first court matter in Sangre Grande, and then we'll have a 7-court case in Port of Spain. So we get different cases from various different courts. Yes. So we file them under for easy access on our desktop or My Documents.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if there's anything similar to that. That's all.
You know what? Not yet, but one of the things that we're doing this year, there will be a rewrite of all the products, and we will be adding features. And so what I'm going to do is add that request to file by folder, or to file by maybe to even file by category.
As I saw courtroom lists, I was wondering if that was anything like what I was asking.
Well, courtroom list, I don't know if it's something that you guys will use or not. I'll tell you what it's used for here in the States. In the States, let's say that you are an official court reporter or an official court transcriber, meaning that you transcribe documents created in the courts, which I think is going to be true for all of you. When a court case is done, let's say it's a Monday morning in the United States, and just about every state court has Monday morning hearings where all of the people that were arrested over the weekend on drunk driving charges are all filed into the court, and they're arraigned basically. And so what happens is bail is set, or they're remanded until trial, say that it's their third DWI, driving while intoxicated, then they would probably not be allowed to bail out. And so you probably have 50 people that are in line for their arraignment. And these arraignments take about 5 minutes, because it's basically the court calls case number 16892-B, the state of Louisiana versus Tom Smith. The charge is driving while intoxicated. How do you plead? I plead not guilty, sir. I wasn't drinking. It's an absolute fabrication. And the judge will say, well, it's your third fabrication, so I think we're going to keep you for a while. So the judge will say, remanded, next case. So literally, it's that short. And because they're so short, but there might be 50 of them, the court reporter doesn't have time to start a new job between every case. And so it's going to be one audio file of 50 cases. And what the reporter might say between cases, she might say new case or case co or Shazam. And our program will write in the text, new case begins, along with the time. And at the end of that day, that court reporter may have one of the 50 attorneys come up and say, Madam Court Reporter, I would like that 15th case, the state versus Tom Smith, I would like that transcribed, please. And so what happens is the court reporter using SpeechCat, which is the real-time product like Transcriptionist, would then bust out from the current list just that 1/15th job. And it would literally be 5 minutes. And what bust out does in the SpeechCat application is it basically allows the reporter to copy just that 5 minutes out of that job and transcribe just that 5 minutes without altering the original job at all. So if you guys get that kind of audio where it may be one audio file, however, it is 50 cases, then we should be teaching you guys how to use the courtroom list. But I'm not sure if you get that or if every job is one file.
Every job is one file. What you're talking about there, we have another officer in court,
yes,
who will handle basically the log notes of that day. Like, for example, in traffic court, where there are many traffic tickets coming in front of the magistrate.
Right.
But thankfully, we don't really.
Thankfully, right? Yes, I agree. It can get a little bit complex.
Yes,
but,
thanks.
Yeah, that is why I didn't think that you guys had that sort of situation, which is why we don't cover courtroom list, because I don't want to confuse you with something that you don't need to know. But thank you. I'm glad that I'm able to know for sure that that's not something that you're up against. So that's really good. I appreciate the question very much. And I also appreciate the question because it will help us to know that it would be convenient for you all to be able to file it by court system or by category. So I'll make sure that that's in the next version of the product for you all, okay? Okay, so let's talk about Dragon now. I'm going to cancel this. These icons, we all know what this is. This is our microphone. We turn it on when we want to dictate. This is play that we use to listen. This is play and resume, pause and resume rather, for when we want to stop the audio, then restart it. This is correction mechanism. This is toggling the correction off. This is the utterance summary. This is correct, which is the button we push if we correct something. Let's say that we're dictating and it is, say, a long dictation. Maybe this one is an hour long and you've dictated for 15 minutes and you're starting to get a little fatigued. So you've decided that you're going to stop dictating and do some correction instead. Give your voice a break. And you end up, you know, having one correction and you just want to push it through because you can see right there that it's correct. So instead of going to utterance summary, if you wanted to push a correction through, you would just hit the correct button, which is the B with the X on it. This button is called check stream, and this button really has to do with if you are not able to correct, it's usually because your stream has broken, and this button will tell you if your stream is broken or not. So if you're having problems correcting, if you click this button and it says the stream is broken, well then don't bother doing correction mechanism, just go straight to editing, because the stream's broken, Dragon can't learn from it. And it doesn't happen often. It generally will happen if you forget to turn off the mic when you're exiting Transcriptionist or something like that. Or if you exit, you know, accidentally, like you're running on power instead of, you're running on battery power instead of power, and your computer goes down while the microphone is on, that's going to break your stream. And so you won't be able to do correction on that document. This is undo, which is something we never use because it causes problems. It looks like it's supposed to be jump to SRE time, but the icon is wrong. This is save speech files. Very important when you make a change that you save your speech files. Otherwise, it will not be saved. And I mean, when you go into vocabulary editor and you delete a word, if you do not save your speech files after you delete that word, the next time you open Dragon, that word is still going to be there. If you add a word and you forget to save your speech files, next time you open Dragon, that word won't be there because you forgot to save the speech files after you added it. We all do it, but believe me, you'll only do it once or twice because you'll aggravate yourself. So then you'll start remembering to save your speech files. The audio setup wizard is, notice that I hit it and two things happened. It came up, but it came up behind the screen. That's why it's flashing in the taskbar. So you can either click on it here or you can click on it in the taskbar to bring it to the front. And then you would click on next and you would bring your mask to your face or put on your headset, click on start and read what you see. And I'll do that. I will continue to use this time and dictate with the product. I'm giving Charlie a chance to adapt to my voice and audio environment. As I talk, Dragon is checking the quality of the audio input and adjusting sound settings. I want you to notice that the green bar was moving while I was speaking. If you go to do your audio setup wizard, check microphones, the same thing, by the way, and the green bar is not moving, then your dictation source is not what you think it is. It's not right. And that is why Dragon is not hearing you. And we're going to go into Dragon alone and look at our dictation sources. when we are done here in Transcriptionist, so that I can remind you where your Dragon dictation sources can be located. That is the only thing we do with the Audio Setup Wizard. The next button is the vocabulary editor. And of course, we want to go into our vocabulary editor frequently. And the first thing we normally are going to do is we're going to come down to the bottom where it says display all words by default. We're going to click on that drop down and click on custom words. The reason we do that is because everything you've added is a custom word. If you have added a marker, that's a custom word. Perhaps you've added other things that are custom words, like our keek and our cack for real-time coach. The word biodynamicists I've added because that's an important medical term that's going to come up again for me. Remember that we add a word very quickly. We can click on add, and to add a word, I would type in the word. So maybe I want to type in my name. And if your name is pronounced the way it's spelled, you don't have to put in a spoken form. But my name is not necessarily pronounced the way it is written. So I would put Adria. That's Adria. That's how you say my first name. My last name is Terrio, but it's pronounced Terrio, Terrio. And so I would click on, I want to train the pronunciation of this word or phrase. And then I would click on add, and it's automatically going to let me say Adria Terrio so that I'm giving it an acoustical idea of how my name is said. So it's saying, oh, this word isn't in the vocabulary. Okay. And I'm going to click on train. I'm going to do it again. And again. Then I'm going to click on save. And remember that if we want to add certain properties to any word or phrase, we would click on that word or phrase and click on properties. And that would bring up this dialog. And in this situation, I don't necessarily need anything to be added or changed because of my name, but I could insert more than one space before or after it. I could precede it by something, or I could follow it with something. So what are the options? You can precede it by a new line, a new paragraph, or a tab. Likewise, you can choose to follow it by a new line, a paragraph, or a tab. You could format the next word with normal capitalization, meaning that if I said Adria Terrio, President, the Audio Scribe Corporation, the word president I would want capitalized, but I wouldn't always want whatever comes after my name capitalized, so I'm not going to choose capitalized. I don't want it in all caps, and I don't want it without capitals. So I'm just going to say with normal capitalization, because I don't know what's going to follow my name. And it says format preceding numbers. I don't have any numbers preceding, nor do I have numbers following my name. So I'm just going to stick with normally, and I'm going to stick with okay. But there are things that we can do, like we did when we created the keek and the cack. We did add 2 spaces after it. We said we wanted the next word capitalized. And what else? I think that's all we really did, was we wanted the next word capitalized. And I think, yes, we preceded it with a new line so that it would look right in real-time coach. But remember that there are word properties, and sometimes those can come in very handy. Another thing I want to remind you is that there is both a written form and a spoken form for your untranslates and your speakers. And when you're doing correction, you must always use the written form of a marker when you're doing correction. So that's just a little reminder. I also want to remind you that if you click on display and you click on the drop down and select words with spoken forms only, you should have certain commands removed from your user profile. If they are successfully removed, if you go to display and show deleted words only, these commands should have been deleted from your user profile. The FAQ on creating a new user profile is in the Dragon course, and you're still going to have access to all of your courses through the end of February. Why? Just because if you want to review anything, I want you to go and review it. If you want to go and download any of those FAQs and you have not had a chance, I want you to have that chance. You can choose to print it or not print it. That doesn't matter to me. But that you have it is very important, because you're going to create new users in your career. You're definitely going to create new users. Your user will become corrupt, often through no fault of your own. Please be open to creating a new user. You know how to do it. I've taught you how, and you've all been successful in creating your new user. However, I have not gone and checked to make sure that each and every one of you have deleted these commands. So please check for yourself. Go through that new user FAQ and make sure that you do everything that it says to do, including deleting these offensive commands. And when I say they're offensive commands, what do I mean? I mean that there are going to be there are going to be occasions, maybe not many, but there are going to be occasions where you are going to be dictating. And someone might say, well, did they all have caps on? And then everything you say after that will be capitalized, because Dragon heard you say caps on. And to Dragon, that means capitalize everything from here on out. That's going to be mighty annoying to fix. So that's something that you don't want in your vocabulary. The no space on command is the most offensive of all. And that is because, let's say that they were talking about a parking lot, and there was an incident in the parking lot, and it was because there were no spaces in the parking lot, and they say there were no spaces in the parking lot, but Dragon hears no spaces on. And what happens from then on is every one of your words are butted up against each other like one gigantic word. Oh my God. You guys, this is the most horrible thing of all. And this is not easily fixed. So I want that no spaces on command out of your Dragon vocabulary, because I don't want that to happen to you. Everything we ask you to do, we ask you to do it because something has happened to someone in the past that taught us a valuable lesson. And we try to teach it to you before it happens to you, because truly it's not a pleasant thing. You would have to redictate the whole document. And if you had been dictating for a while, that's really quite disheartening. So please make sure that offending Dragon commands are deleted. That's not to say all Dragon commands. You can still use new line, next paragraph, new paragraph. There are some commands that are wonderful, but there are some commands that are not and can be very annoying. The cap command will turn initial caps on, meaning every word except for your prepositions will have initial caps. This is also very annoying to go and correct. So please make sure that is out of your vocabulary. Again, everything I ask you to remove in the new user instructions, we ask you to remove for a reason and a purpose that I promise you, you don't want to have to learn the hard way. So keep that in mind. There are going to be times when words are going to come up in exchange for words that you say. For instance, when I say my name, the word atria comes up. I'm going to go to all words. Now, here's atria. I learned, because atria kept coming up every time I'd say my name, I learned that atria is the plural of atrium. It is very rare that you will use that word, and so I normally delete it. Please be cautious as to what you delete. You don't want to delete words willy-nilly. Only delete a word that you know for a fact you will never see. And only if it's irritating you. There's no need to go through the Dragon Dictionary and start deleting words. You only ever delete a word if it is something that keeps coming up, that you've tried to use real-time rules to get rid of, and still you're having a problem with it. Okay? So use caution there. Let's see. The only other thing, sometimes you will become annoyed by abbreviations. In the US, abbreviations are never used in a transcript. And so many people go in and remove some of them, like pres for president, or NOV period for November, you know, things like that. We normally correct those sorts of things in the real-time rules, but it is something that some of you will come and look for here. If you find it and you want to remove an abbreviation, that is completely up to you. We have no problem with that. So that is a majority of what goes on in your vocabulary editor. The one other thing that often goes on in the vocabulary editor is that you train words. Sometimes it's a custom word. Maybe it's a phrase like, I don't know. Perhaps you say it a lot, and so you want to train it in Dragon, or you want to add it as a phrase in Dragon. You certainly can do that. Let's say I'd want to add a phrase. I could say, I don't know. And I'm going to say it just the way it's pronounced. So I'm going to click on add. And the only reason this is a good point. I don't apostrophe lowercase t, no. I don't want to say it like that. So I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to type in again, I don't know. But I'm going to say, I don't know. Meaning I'm not going to say, I don't apostrophe T, no. I'm going to say, I don't know. So now I'm going to add, I don't know. I'm going to train it as I don't know. And save. And that way, maybe if it wasn't coming up regularly every time I said it, now it will. So that's the other thing that we do in Vocabulary Editor that is really important. The next icon is General Training. General Training does not exist anymore, which is why you don't know about it. And we just haven't removed the icon yet. Add words from a list. Okay, this is how we insert when we create a new user, this is how we insert our list of words, our list of markers, QCO, QMAC, ACO, AMAC, SPI1, SPI2, SPI3, SPI4, Tran 1, Tran 2, all of those things. Let's just say that some overachieving transcriber that you know goes ahead and creates a list of words that Trinidadians and people from Tobago, I don't know what you call yourselves, if you also call yourself Trinidadians, but if you have certain words that are spelled differently in your everyday language than we spell it, then and you create, say, a list of those words, you could add them very easily using this tool. We also have lists of suffixes and prefixes that you can add using this tool. We have all sorts of things that you can add using this tool. All of those things are located if you go to the File Explorer on your computer. Hang on, mine went over to the other side. Goodness gracious. Okay, here we go. So under this PC, you should see on local disk C, topic files, and under topic files, you will see marker files and word lists. There are all sorts of things here. Some of them are mine, you know, so they might not be on your computer. Let's see, I have, for example, a list of parentheticals that you can add, and these are all common parentheticals found in transcripts that I've seen in the US. And as you can see, some of them have brackets, some of them have parentheses, some of these have replacement fields in them even. And this is something that is convenient and easy to add. And so I will show you with the parentheticals list how to add a list of words. I've got to cancel out of this because Scratchpad closed. So I'm just going to go right back in. Open my user profile. Okay. All right, so now that we're ready, I'm going to go back to add words from a list. I'm going to click on preview the list of unknown words, and I'll go to next. I'll add the file, and it automatically is going to go to topic files, marker files, and word lists. And I'm going to look for, oh, here's another one. This is a good one to add. This is the alphabet list. I'm going to click on open, and next, and next. And I'm going to check all, and next. I'm going to check all and train, and I actually have them used with the Macs. Obviously, if you use a Mac as your A, then you wouldn't want to use it for your A letter, but you would literally just train them by clicking on train and saying what you see in the uppermost box. Q, H, Q, and then next, and you can see that I've added 25 new words. And then if I go to my vocabulary editor, the first thing I would want to do is go to custom words only, and I would want to delete my AMAC. Now, I don't use QMAC and AMAC. I use QCO and ACO. So it's okay for me to delete those. And I'm going to go ahead and delete my QMAC too. And now I've also got these new alphabet entries that will help me to get just the alphabet, because sometimes if you say IMAC, if you say I, you're going to get the word EYE instead of I, which is why we train IMAC to be I. But notice that it came out. So IMAC might just be a word. If I go to all words, see IMAC is a word. So I'm going to delete those two words from my vocabulary so that my IMAC is more likely to work. Now, I've just added things to my vocabulary, so I need to save my speech files. Yes. Now, once my speech files are saved, I'm done. I've actually successfully done that. Generally, when I want to test it, what I do is I go to where I can find that list in my topic files and I open it up so that I can see what they're called, because until I get familiar with them, I won't remember. And I can test them. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to turn on my mic. Amen. 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 Okay, so my E didn't work. My F didn't work. My I didn't work.
So, Adria, I have a small question about this list. If you wanted it to be lowercase, would you have to train a separate list or just hit control and something to change the case?
Well, if you wanted to enter it as lowercase letters, you would open up the alphabet text, the alphabet.txt, and go in here and change them to IMAC, the little A for AMAC, the little B for BMAC. You could do that. Or let's say that you want to create an additional list. you could come up with a new second word, like we use co a lot, so you could maybe do, if you didn't use a co, let's say that you wanted to do little letters all with the co's. Instead of a co, you could always call it a co, B co, C co, D co. And when it, like, for some reason, when we created these, we created them with like Paul Mac instead of just PMAC for a reason. Obviously, they weren't working. But you can create your own spoken forms, which is what's on the right side of the backslash. You can edit these texts before you send them through, and that's how you would manage to do that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're so welcome. And it's really a great, great idea to create a list of words that that you're going to use a lot that aren't spelled correctly. And then what you would do is, for your language, go into Dragon and delete those words with the incorrect spelling from the Dragon vocabulary, and add the list with the correct spellings. That's something that may benefit you a great deal. Okay? So that's adding lists of words. Let's talk now, and I know that you've gone all through this in your Dragon course, but these things are important, which is why I'm reviewing them with you today. The next is the add words from a document, which this is called Learn from Specific Documents in Dragon. And what this does is it scans the documents that you give it, and it will present you with a list of new words. And so I want to see what new words there are, and I want to adapt to the writing style. So I'm going to click on Next. Now, for you guys, it would be very beneficial if you had access to completed documents, completed transcripts that were created in Trinidad. So, for instance, perhaps the school could work with transcribers that were already out there working to get some of their completed files for you to run through Learn from Specific Documents. It would be an extremely helpful thing. We have some already on your computer under topic files, and they're listed by category, like divorce, general litigation, medical, miscellaneous deposition, and workman's comp. And so I'm going to go and select general litigation for our purposes today. I'm going to select another vocabulary, go back to topic files, and I will also do miscellaneous deposition, and I'll click on Next. And as you can see, Dragon is reading the texts, and as it completes reading the texts, it puts a little green check to the left of the name of that document. All of these documents are in text-only format because years ago, when we first began, 22 years ago, Dragon Naturally Speaking would not accept a Word document, nor would it accept a WordPerfect document, nor would it accept a rich text format document. It would only ever accept text-only documents. And text-only documents, the primary difference between a text-only document and a doc or docx, which is a Word document, a WPD, which is a WordPerfect document, and a rich text format document, is those documents all contain graphics, whether that be a border or a header, a footer. All of those things are considered graphics. And so we had to save our finished transcripts in text-only format in order to send them to Dragon. You no longer have to do that. You can send Word documents through Dragon. And so I suggest that you do that. It's so important what it does. I did not mean to double click there. I meant to show you the word list, but my happy finger double clicked. And so I'm going to let this finish, and I'm going to just go through it one more time so that I can show you how to add words that it finds. Right now, what it's doing is adapting to the writing style, meaning it's learning from the documents that I fed it. It's learning what words are most likely to precede and follow what words. And so it helps Dragon to understand the way you form a sentence. And so that is it's going to be very important that you send Trinidadian documents through there, because of course documents from American transcripts are obviously going to have more American colloquialisms in them. And while some of those colloquialisms you may share, because it's very much a global society these days, there are certainly going to be things in there that in your transcripts that are going to bring up words that are very important for you to have in your vocabulary, things that mean different things to you all than to the rest of the world. And so it's going to be very important that you do learn from specific documents on transcripts from Trinidad and Tobago. So this sometimes can take a little while, and so I'm going to open the floor for questions again. Any questions at all regarding Dragon? It's really important that you understand, you have a good and thorough understanding of Dragon Naturally Speaking, because Transcriptionist is going to be fairly easy. Dragon is what can be tricky, and I want to make sure you understand.
Adria, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When I use my speaker markers, I'm noticing that in the active window, it is deleting the last character I typed, putting a period, and then going to the next line and putting the marker or the speaker. How do I fix that?
When you use a marker, it's deleting the last letter of the previous word.
Yes, ma'am. So if the sentence ends with Sir question mark, and then I say SP1, it will delete the question mark, put a period, and then it goes to the next line and put whatever SP1 is designated as, usually the magistrate.
Wow. It should not be doing that. Is it for every speaker?
I believe so. And it shows up red in the transcriptionist window.
The speaker does?
The period.
Oh, yes, the period will, because the period is automated. That's put in automatically. So that's why it's red. But deleting a character, and you're saying this is even the Q and the A that's doing it as well?
No, I haven't tried using my Q&A markers. I just use the speaker markers, so SP1, SP2.
Okay.
And that's what's happening with the speaker markers. It doesn't do that with the untrans or anything like that, just the speaker markers. I don't know if it's a setting in my style that needs to be adjusted to, correct the issue.
Perhaps it is. Tell me, have you tried different styles?
I have, and I only noticed this one in the style that I created as practice when I was doing the course, because the ones that are already in there for the magistrate's court and so on, it doesn't put it in the correct tab when I use it. So I wanted to do one that tabs it exactly where it's supposed to go when I use it, but I'm doing actual work for the magistrate's court.
Okay. And so the magistrate's court style is not as it's supposed to be for your needs?
No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. Then perhaps you and I could spend some time together when time permits, Kizzy. It does not have to be this week. You know, I know that you guys have other exams coming up. So if you would let me know what's good for you, then you and I will work together to solve this problem. And if it's happening for anyone else, I would also like to know. But you and I will make time, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. And that's whenever it's good for you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And I'm hoping it's an issue with the style that will be easily resolved.
I hope so too.
But we'll get it right for you.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do learn from specific documents again because of the mistake that I made with going too far with the new words. So again, I'm at the first screen. I simply make sure I have 2 checks in these boxes. I click on next, add folder. This time I'm going to go to local disk C, topic files, and I'll do workman's comp. Oh. And I'll go next. And I just did 3 because I don't want to take up too much time. Okay, I'm going to try. Okay. So here are the list of words. Now, there are a few things I want you to pay attention to. First and foremost, of course, it brings up any stitched words. And we're never going to add a word to the vocabulary with stitching because we only use stitching when someone is spelling, right? So automatically we know we're not going to add that to the vocabulary. So as we go down, obviously these are abbreviations for something. I don't know for what, so I'm not adding them. If I knew for what, then it would be applicable to me and I would add them. Recordables, that's not really a word that I would use. Now notice here to the right of all these new words is the frequency of the words used. That is also generally a good sign. If you have a word that was used this many times, it is either a very applicable word that you need to add or it's a name. Now, if it's a name, this may still be a very a necessary word. And so you may want to add it. It may be a name that you've never heard and you'll never hear again, so don't add it. It's completely up to you. It's your decision to make. It's your vocabulary. So if you, I'm going to go ahead and add a word because I just want you to see what happens next. So I'm going to add herder, which, oh no, I don't really like that. I'm going to add Dunnigan, and I'm going to add Moa, because that's most likely a name. So I have the ones I want to add checked, and I'm going to click on next. Now I want to train them. So I'm going to click on check all and train. And I'm going to click on the word train. Mm-hmm. 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 And save. And next. And now it's going to, again, adapt to the writing style. These are really important things to do. And believe it or not, doing learn from specific documents actually increases your accuracy. Doing learn from specific documents with your own Trinidadian transcripts is really, really going to improve your accuracy. So I encourage you to do that. So that's really the primary stuff I wanted to talk about. Once this is finished, I am going to talk briefly about Dragon formatting options, because they may be different for you than what we do, and I want you to be able to change that if you need to. But while this is finishing, I want to just let you know where we go in our relationship from here. You are my customers. The minute you are finished with this course, you go from student to customer. And you have support as a customer. And that means for you mostly that you can continue to Skype me, only you no longer have to use the thread. Now you can just Skype me privately. If you have an issue, I can still dial in and assist you. There are a limited number of issues. Generally, when it is a dial-in is when you'll be charged an incident, which is what we call a support incident. You have 5 incidents or up to 5 hours with me that you can use over the next year. And I encourage you to use them wisely, but do use them. I am here for you. You can also continue to email me. Email support is free. A quick question on Skype is free. If I need to dial in and assist you, that will generally cost you an incident. How to create voice strokes and brief forms. Absolutely. That's actually great suggestion. Let's talk about voice strokes. Okay, a voice stroke is generally something that you're going to create for jury charges. And a jury charge is normally something that happens during a trial where the magistrate is telling the jury, this is what you need to consider as you deliberate on the merits of the case. And generally, the magistrate is going to read from what in the U.S. is called a bench book. And the bench book is going to contain all of the laws that magistrate and the juries have to follow when determining whether or not somebody's innocent or guilty. And so for a voice stroke, we have to have a few things. We have to have a file that we've created in the include directory setup. And that file may contain the actual jury charge. And then we have to have an entry in Dragon Naturally Speaking. So I would, let me show you by going into the File Explorer. If you go to C and then Program Data, Audio Scribe, Transcriptionist, Include, these are all of my cover pages here. I have a lot of standard voice strokes, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get them right now. Okay, so these are all voice stroke include files. And I'll open one up to give you an idea of what it contains. So this one contains only across the words cross-examination. Most of these voice strokes are like that, except for maybe the witness sworn, which is the calling of a witness. Whereupon, and then I've got a replacement field, having been first called and duly sworn, did testify as follows. So that's an example that's a little bit longer. We also have, let me see if I can find the resources. So these are a bunch of jury charges that I did for a customer that works in the courts. And this is an example of one. The ALCO sensor is used as an initial screening device to aid the police officer. The test results as to the ALCO sensor are given in the form of positive or negative. Now, some of these voice strokes, let's see if I can find one that's much larger. Here we go. A voice stroke can actually contain a huge amount of text. It can actually contain multiple pages even. So it doesn't matter necessarily what's in. I'm going to go ahead and do Control A, Control C to grab these. And if I go back to my program data, audio scribe, transcriptionist includes, and I paste all of these in here. So now you see all of these include files for voice strokes. They have to begin with the word auto and they have to end with .rtf as the file name. So let's say that I want to use the auto jury final instructions 2570. Say I want to create a voice stroke for this one. So what I'm going to do is right click on it. This is kind of a cheat, and I'm going to click on rename. Just because when I do that, I can actually highlight the whole file name and do Control C to copy it. Then if I click away, I'm not affecting that file at all. But I've got it on my clipboard. So now if I go to the vocabulary editor and I say, okay, I'm going to add, and there's the name, and I have to add asterisks around it. So it's asterisk and then the whole file name asterisk. And I'm going to call this auto jury final instructions. And I'm going to click on add. And now I'm going to train it. Auto jury final instructions. Auto jury final instructions. And now I'm going to close. And now I'm going to test it. Jury final instructions. Until jury final instructions. And this is how it comes out. Oh my goodness, I made a mistake. See, I've got a quotes instead of an asterisk. So this is not going to work. I'm going to have to go and redo it. So I need to go to custom words only and delete it. And now I'm going to add it again. Put the asterisks around it. Auto jury final instructions. Add until jury final instructions. Until jury final instructions. Until jury final instructions. Until jury final instructions. Okay, close. Test. Until jury final instructions. Okay, so it's working. Now, if I were to say this in the dictation screen, I would not get this because this is the written form. I want it to actually bring the file in. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out, but what do I need to do? I need to save those speech files because I've added something. And if I don't save it, when I go into my transcriptionist, it's not going to be there. So I exited out of the Scratchpad, and now I'm going to create a new file. Just going to call it voice strokes for now. And I'm going to go back to the current list. Well, I created that in Courtroom. Okay. It's useless. Move it to current. Load my engine. It didn't load my engine.
You're not the guardian of the galaxy. Yeah, I know. The announcement of this Spider-Man movie and that movie.
And close Transcriptionist. It seems to be acting up.
I just don't understand how they're going to make another guardian of the galaxy. Well, we're going to see how that goes back in the next one. Or not. I know. Or more. Maybe. She was happy to see me. So, she might come back. But everybody died, so they're coming.
Okay, so I'm going to test my voice stroke. Auto final instructions. Auto final instructions. Auto final instructions.
Adria, you're leaving out the word jury.
Thank you so much. Auto jury final instructions. Well, that made a difference, didn't it? Okay, so for some reason it made some of my text little and some of my text big. So I'm going to go to Edit, Change Font, and make it all 12. And make it all single spaced. There we go. And you can still edit the text to whatever extent you want to. But there it is. And you can have as many voice strokes as you want. Now to create the voice stroke file, you go to the include directory setup. And I'll show you where that is. So I'm going to go ahead and save my document. And close out. And back here at the Transcriptionist main menu, if I go to View, Include Directory Setup, here's all of my includes. Let's say I wanted to create a new one. New. And let's say I want to call this Auto Start of Trial and create. So then I can go look under Auto. There it is, Auto Start of Trial. So when I go to open it, it's going to say, okay, well, what do you want to use it with? And let's say that I want to use it with, of course, a TNT style, but which one? Let's see. Let's say this is for a criminal appeal. So I would select criminal appeal and click on OK. And I would type in, this is the text that I want to appear when I say the voice stroke. And it's in Arial or something. So I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to change the font. Oh, Microsoft Sans Serif. So we'll go to Arial and regular 12. Okay. And we'll save it. And there's my include file, right? I'm going to close out of here. And now I need to go and create that dragon entry. So I'm going to go back into my dictation and editing screen here. Wait for the voice data to load. While that's loading, I'll tell you that brief forms, the brief form feature can be used in two ways. It can be used to bring up a single word with just 2 or 3 keystrokes, or a phrase, or an entire file. And I'll show you how to do that as well. The difference is brief forms you utilize all with your fingers. It's all about stroking it in with just a few strokes. Like, let's say that I don't want to have to type out I don't know, because it's something I hear all the time. So I just type out IDK and it writes I don't know. I might type out CEB for cross-examination by. So it depends on what brief forms you have as to what you're going to use, of course. But there are many, many things that you can do with brief forms. And you can access brief forms through hotkeys. This is the way you turn them on and off. So if ever you accidentally turn your brief forms off, and you would just come back here and click on brief forms, so that there's a blackish red box here. That's what tells you that they're currently on. If you want to add to your brief forms, then you would go to options. It's not letting us go because it's not finished loading the voice data. I'm going to exit out. Just create a new job. And go into edit. Okay, so I'm going to go to my vocabulary editor, and I'm going to add auto start of trial.rtf. I've got to put an asterisk on both ends. And I'm going to just call it auto start of trial. Add and train. I'm going to save it and close it, and I'm going to try it. There we go. That makes sense? Okay, I'll move on to brief forms. So when you click on options, the very first thing you come up to is the brief forms tab. And you can see that there are many things already in brief forms that you can use. You can also remove anything that you don't like. So HCP is healthcare provider. GT is going to. DYK is do you know. DYR is do you remember. And there are just tons of these. And to use them, DYK, do you know? IDK, I don't know. DYR, do you recall or do you remember? So there's lots and lots of them. And you can choose to use them like this, or you can choose to use them a different way. So let's say that we wanted to be able to bring in a voice stroke by our hands. So I'm going to go ahead and add, and the short form, I'm going to do SOT, start of trial. And instead of it just being text, I'm going to say, no, I want to pick a file. And then I'm going to browse to see program data, audio scribe, transcriptionist, include, and I'll go to my autos. And this one is auto start of trial. So here it is. I'm going to click on that and open. Oops. And add. Now I'm going to close this, and now I'm going to do SOT. There you go. So you can bring in a file or you can bring in a brief by just typing in a brief form that you assign. Any questions?
Adria, those would only be used in the correction mechanism.
Can those be used? Yes, they can in the correction mechanism. Absolutely.
So should
Absolutely.
they only be used then, like when you're doing your corrections, or like while dictating, can you just use the keyboard and put in the brief forms in the middle of it?
You certainly can use your brief forms as well. You know, when you're dictating, if you stop dictating and you put your cursor where you want the brief form, you type it in, yes, you can absolutely use it.
Cool.
Now, one of the things that I do to make life easier for myself is when I'm doing correction mechanism and I say that I said SPE1 and it came out SPEW1. And so I need to correct it. So instead of typing in asterisk, capital SPEAKER 1 asterisk, which to me is just not easy to type, I type in SP1 and I hit the space bar. And it brings in the written form of the speaker. And that is so much faster than having to do it. And so I added all of these in into my brief forms, as you can see here, so that when I'm in correction and I have to put in the speaker written form, I don't have to type in that whole thing. I just do SP1, enter, asterisk. You can do SP1 enter or SP1 tab or SP1 space. I just use the space bar because normally I'm going to put something in after it. You may want to use the enter key or the tab, you know, to put an enter after the word or a tab after the word. It's whichever you prefer. And one thing that we didn't talk about too much is conflicts. Conflicts are really good for if you're having regular issues that are coming up for you. And you can see what conflicts I've created for myself. And what that means when you see a conflict in the conflict list, what basically you are to understand is that these are things that are coming up in correction for me as issues. And I can use conflicts. The way conflicts come up is they come up in a bracket, and the brackets are blue. And then all the words that are options in the conflict are blue except for the very first one. And the very first one is the one that transcriptionist thinks is the right answer. And to resolve the conflict inside the transcript, you just simply click on it. Let me go ahead and turn my conflicts on, because you do have to turn them on to use them. So show conflicts is how you turn them on. That's in the dictate tab. So I'm going to click on apply and OK. And now I'm going to just dictate for a minute. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she did not know what to do. And certainly your dad had no what to do either. Okay, so here are conflicts. So in order to say that the correct choice is the word in, I would click on it and see that fixes it. Once upon a time, there was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she did not know what to do. I certainly would not have known what to do either. So there you go. That's how you work with conflicts, and you can also do that in the correction mode. So that's really fun too. If you have constant issues with something, you can always create a conflict for it. And then the word swap is also available in correction mechanism. And word swaps would be like, let's say the word to. If you can see right here, I have my cursor just touching the word to. If I hold down the control and I hit the Y key, it switches to another version of the word to again. Now another version of the word to again. I used to get Q for two, so that's why it's there for me again. Now that's a numeric 2 again, and we're back to the beginning of the options there. So that's also very convenient. And if you go to options, you'll find the word swaps here. Again, there are many, many word swaps. These have been created by court reporters over the years. There may be a lot of these in here that you won't use. Feel free to go in and say, okay, well, let me edit this. I am never going to say the word SOL or soul, which means the sun, obviously. So I'm just going to delete that word and I'm going to save. So there, now it's changed. And you are encouraged to change it for yourself. Change all of them if you want, delete them if you want, whatever it is that works for you is what's important. We just provide a starting point for you. And word swaps are activated automatically, so they're always there to be used. But not every word has a word swap. So let's see if one has one. If I do Control Y, see, a word was not found to swap. Let's say that I wanted to add one because I frequently get maybe the word one, want, one. So I could close and say, okay, so this is a new swap for me. So now if I do Control Y, See, it comes up 1, 1, want. So all of this works immediately when you add it. Any other questions? Any other requests for clarification or something you'd like me to show you to do or clarify for you? I don't know if I ever told you, but these two are really neat. These are display sets, and if you have multiple display sets on your computer, you can actually have it change to different display sets that might be available to you. It doesn't look like we have too many display sets set, but that's how you change display sets. Go to next display sets and previous display sets. Different display sets can have different background colors, which is why suddenly you see a color in the back. And you can change the color of your background in the display set. And the display set is something that you can access from the main menu. If you go to Edit, Display Sets. I like to create a display set, and I may already have one. Here we go. I call it Easy to Read. And what I do is I use the font, whatever font that I like. I really like Lucida Sans. And so let's see.
And it's just 55 for today. Stop. Mama.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay. I can bold it or underline it or any of that. And then I can click on apply. You can change the background right here. If you like a nice green.
Thanks so much. We'll see y'all next time.
Apply and okay. And then once you have that, when you're inside of a document, you can then switch to some of the different display sets that you have. As you can see, I have quite a few display sets. Okay, and there you have it. So that's display sets. And then the jump to end button is always what you use when you want to start dictating again. You always want to make sure you're at the end of the document. And there you go. So there you have it, ladies. That's our course. I thank you all. I look forward to continuing our relationship. I look forward to speaking with you all and working with you all some more. We just won't have these regular classes. I will be posting all of the videos on the video site. I'll post those in the thread as well. You will have access to all of the videos from this class and the last class for at least a year. So watch those as often as you can. Yes, Rochelle, what can I do for you? We've already had the extra 2 classes. This is class number 8. So the extra classes are done. And so they may continue with the portal, yes.
Hi, Adrian.
Hi.
I have one question. In the computer skills on the ACE website, I was not able to access quiz number 5. I messaged you about it on Skype, and I thought that you were going to send a link that you'll be able to do quiz 5. And as of today, I haven't gotten the link. I got the links for the transcriptionist quizzes, but not for the computer skill.
Not for computer skills?
No.
I haven't. Oh, no. Yes, I did. I did one for computer skills. I'll send it to you, Melissa, after
Thank
class. No problem.
Okay.
And let's see. There was another question. Can there be more than 2 words in conflict? Because whenever I say were, I would get either will, where, or when. Yes, there can be many words in a conflict. So you can have all of those words in a conflict, and it will bring up all of those words, and it'll put the one that it thinks is right first in black. And to choose that one, you just click on it, or let's say there are 4 words. You can also, once you're on the conflict, just let's say it's the 3rd word that's the right word. If you hit the number 3, it'll place the 3rd one and make all the others disappear. So you can click on the correct one or type in the number of the correct one and it'll be replaced. I think you'll find that one a fun one to use. Okay, ladies, I thank you all. You've been wonderful, wonderful students. I've enjoyed being your instructor, and I will continue to enjoy to be your technical support throughout this next year.